Welcome to this video discussing how the 2022 Math Standards addresses precision, and how does that impact our work in both writing assessment items and scoring them. Math Practice 6 is all about attending to precision. A big part of that is for students to calculate accurately and express numerical answers with a degree of precision appropriate for the context of the problem. Estimation is specifically mentioned in Anchor Standard 3 on measurement, but it also shows up elsewhere. There are many benchmarks that specifically mention estimation and approximation. Measurement benchmarks estimating length, area, time, and various capacities. There are also benchmarks in Anchor Standard 5 on number relationships for estimating computations and solutions to problems. This is where Math Practice 6 really shines, knowing that the appropriate degree of precision that is needed for the context of the problem. Then there's pi. Pi is exact, but it's often an approximation and it's used for computations. And again, the context of the problem matters for the degree of precision. Other irrational numbers also need to be approximated, such as the square root of 2, and also for approximating very large and very small values. Sometimes exact probabilities, which relate to Anchor Standard 2, will need to be estimated. And in studying Anchor Standard 1, that often requires estimating values as well for data. These are just some of the benchmarks that specify the need for estimation and approximation. But again, Math Practice 6 carries throughout all of mathematics. Standards from 2007, the new 2022 Math Standards do not mention rounding. So it is important to consider what numerical answers should be considered correct, depending on the question. As I go through some examples, please pause the video to consider what answers you would consider to be correct before I give some solutions. Start by taking a look at this previous grade 6 MCA question. The computation gives an answer of 3.45. Should only 3.45 be considered correct? Or should 3.4 or 3.5 also be considered correct? Here is another released MCA item from grade 6. In estimating the area of the shape, how precise should the answer be? Values of 21, 22, or 23 square centimeters were all considered correct for this. Think about the context of this problem. When asking for how many rotations of a tire, should that be a whole number value or a non-whole number value is better? The computation shows the answer is 7.5 rotations. A student might consider that a tire only has rotated 7 times or that it rounds to 8 rotations. Now for a problem with pi. The exact computation gives an exact answer of 48 pi. Now, throwing that in a calculator with a pi button, you get a value of about 150.79644474. Do we need all those digits? Probably not. What makes sense? How far should it go? How about 150.796? That seems reasonable. What if we truncate that value to 150.79? Should we consider that to be correct? The student probably has done all the mathematics correct. It's just, is truncating okay rather than rounding? But a rounding would give a value of 150.80. Then, of course, oftentimes we say go ahead and use 3.14 for pi. So if instead of using the pi button, a student types in 48 times 3.14, well, then they get an answer of 150.72. You can see that's actually quite a bit different than if they use the pi button. Should we consider values from 150.72 all the way to 150.80? Should we consider values from 150.7 to 150.8? We're going to ask you at the end of this module to give us your opinion on things like this. We want to hear your feedback. Thank you. This concludes the videos on the new Minnesota 2022 Mathematics Standards. If you have any questions, please post them in the forum at the end of this module or send them to mde.panels@state.mn.us.